Hey everybody, in this tutorial we're going to explore how to create custom elastic motions for your props in CrazyTalk Animator 3. So this will allow us to create some really cool kind of morphing animations for our props and morph the image of our prop into various animations. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to be using this prop under basic icons, under props here, this frowny face. Alright, so you can find it under this folder. He's frowning now, but we're going to be bouncing him around in a little bit here. But first of all, let's select our character, or select our prop rather, and go into the prop key editor. This is how we get started with our deform animations. Alright, notice when the prop key editor opens we have the option for transform and deform. We're going to be talking about transform momentarily here, but we're going to have deform selected first, and make sure you have smooth deformed object selected on your this button right here, because that's going to allow for much more detailed morphing of your prop's image map. You won't have any jagged edges if you select smooth deform object. So make sure that that is selected. Alright, and if you want to modify your image map mesh in any way, you can just select these simple points here. So for example, if I select this lower right point, I can stretch it out and I can morph my image map just like this, kind of make it so it's melting. So if we want to say, for example, melt this guy into like a dumpling shape, well, we can select the other points and kind of bring them down as well, just like this. And let's kind of make him bring this in a little bit as well, maybe down like that. And there we go. And in these upper points here, whoops, make sure you only have one point selected. Kind of bring it up like this. And this one over here, the same thing. All right, and then we have a nice pointy dumpling, or melting happy face, whichever way you want to look at it. Alright, let's make sure we just have this one selected here. And we can, make him look around like this. Alright, so if you wanted to have, your dumpling looking around, you can do so as well, animate it this way. Alright, but what we're going to talk about in this tutorial is we're going to be kind of creating some animation. So I've shown you how to, morph your image map. Let's talk about animating it now. So I'm going to press F3 and go into the timeline. And let's go over to about frame 20. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my transform track keyframe right here. We have, if you have the deform or prop key editor open, these tracks are automatically going to appear, by the way. We have frown T, S, D, and O, standing for transform, sprite, deform, and opacity. Now in this example, we're only going to be dealing with deform, alright? We're going to be talking about transform in the next tutorial here. So let's go ahead and select the deform keyframe. I'm going to right click and select copy. And then we're going to go down to about frame 20 here. I'm just going to right click and select paste. You can also use Control C, Control V. Alright, and if I go back to frame 0, or frame 1 rather, if I go over here and I press reset, it's going to reset all that deform information back to the original data, the original prop data. Reset all will reset transform and deform, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm just going to go ahead and press reset. Alright, so that takes it back to the original shape. And then you can see we have a melting animation for our poor little dumpling, happy face, whatever he is. Alright, now that's a really quick and easy animation. Let's talk about how you can make that a bit more dynamic using transition curves. So I'm going to right click on my deform track there and select transition curve. And you can see this opens up a whole bunch of possibilities for some more dynamic animations. And you can see it'll preview them if we just kind of, select through these ones here. You can see there's a gain momentum before the move. I kind of like this one because it kind of bulges up a little bit before it drops, okay? And you can, use these various transition curves to create the desired type of animation. So he's kind of just, plopping on the ground, whoop, just like that, okay? And there's all sorts of various ones you can use. You can kind of explore these on your own time. This one's just a very simple one, and this one is our linear one, okay? And you can, use these in various situations. Have fun with those on your own time. That's a very simple animation that I just showed you there. Let's talk about something a bit more interesting. So I'm going to go to frame 1 here. I'm going to right click on my prop and select remove object animation. That's going to remove any of the animation that we previously did. Let's talk about something a bit more interesting here. We're going to kind of make this guy, turn this guy into like a bouncing ball. Alright, so at frame 0 right now, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the deform tool again here. And you can also multi-select these points on your mesh as well. Okay, so I'm going to click and hold Control and click all the other points here. And we're going to kind of just squash this guy down a bit because we're going to kind of have a stretch and squash ball animation here. All right, so just bring that stuff down just like this, and then we can click off. If we just control click these top three, then we can bring these top three down a little bit. Not quite to the distance between here, but we have a pretty good squash right there. Okay, and then at frame, let's go to about frame 10 maybe. And at frame 10, I'm just going to go ahead and press reset. That's going to reset our smiley face there back to regular parameters. And this time we're going to kind of stretch it a little bit. So I'm going to just control click on these 3 points here, kind of move them in a bit just like this. Do the same thing for the other side. Control click these bad boys and bring them in a little bit as well. And then we can take, the top 3, control clicking on those ones and kind of stretch them out like this. And maybe the bottom 3 we can do the same thing and stretch that out just like a little bit. All right. So then we have this kind of, okay, we have a nice stretch animation like that. But what we want to do is we also want to add a transform position change into that as well. So if I go to frame 10 now and I select transform, you can see it'll be a regular blue bounding box, and I can kind of move that up however far I want on my scene. You can see the Y value change as I move it up. Move it to about maybe like 70 or something. All right, and we'll just zoom out or pan out our camera here a little bit. All right, then we have this kind of stretching animation just like that. And what we want to do then is at frame 20, we want it to go back to the original animation, or the original pose right here. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and click on the transform keyframe and hold shift and click on the deform keyframe. Now you can copy and paste both of these at the same time. So I'm going to do that. Whoops, make sure we select them. Kind of clicked off there. There we go. Right click, copy, and we're going to paste them at frame 20. Okay, Control V. So now we have the transform and everything all taken care of. So let's go ahead and press space. So there you can see our bouncing animation. Needs a little bit of extra pizzazz into it. And we can use the transition curves that we just talked about to accomplish that. All right. So let's use the deform first. We're going to right click and select transition curve on the middle one right here. So as the ball is kind of bouncing up, we're going to kind of use a decelerate. So it's going to accelerate, very, very quickly at the very beginning and kind of, move out a little bit as it reaches the peak of its bounce. Okay, so we'll use decelerate here. And in addition to that, right now we're only using the deform, so we're not going to be able to notice much of a difference. But in addition to that, we can also change the strength as well. If we want to make it a bit more dynamic, you can see here it's fairly easing off fairly easily. Let's change that to something like maybe strength of 70. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing for the transform keyframe. Okay, so right click transition curve and decelerate, and we'll change that value to 70 as well. Okay, so we have kind of a bouncing up like that. And then we need to, when it comes back down, right now it's pretty linear, so it bounces up, but it comes down a little bit too smoothly. So let's go ahead and use an accelerate, because gravity teaches us that as something approaches the ground, it's going to accelerate a little bit due to gravity. All right, so let's go ahead and use accelerate here for the deform, and change that to about 70 as well. And the amount of dynamic animation you want, you can adjust the strength according to whatever you want to achieve there. And let's do the same thing for transform, transition curve, and accelerate here as we approach the ground, and change that to 70. And there we go. So now we have a cool bounce like this. Okay, but we only have one bounce, and the easy way to add more bounce to that is we can just click and drag on all these keyframes right here, and Control C, and then every 10 frames, Control V, and Control V, Control V, until the end of time. All right, so then we have a nice bouncing ball like this. All right, so the poor guy's bouncing up and down. We've kind of put him in a bad situation. Maybe that's why he's frowning so much. All right, anyways, that's about all I wanted to kind of show you in this tutorial there. Just how easy it is to add your own, create your own custom animation for your props using the deform and transform tools in the prop key editor, and you can create some nice bouncing animation like that. So thanks so much for watching again. Hopefully you learned a lot, and check out our forums over at forum.reallusion.com, and I will see you in the next video.